Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a recent controversy that has erupted in the state of Maharashtra after a statement given by a well-known comedian Kunal Kamra. So in this context, the government of Maharashtra is seeking or has sought an apology from the comedian, and also on the other hand, as a reply, Kunal Kamra has clearly stated that he is not going to apologize for his statement as he feels that whatever he has said falls under the freedom of speech that any citizen of India is granted under the Constitution of India. So let us try to understand in detail that does Kunal's joke fall under the freedom of speech, what is the entire concept of freedom of speech, and how judiciary over the years have taken a stance on this particular issue. So first of all, to give you this understanding about what is going on in the Maharashtra, recently there is a huge uproar that we have seen erupting in what you can call as the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, where Kunal Kamra's statement over the state's Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is something that the government is alleging is a kind of political contract act. Political contract act, basically they are alleging that it is the opposition party who has backed Kunal Kamra and has basically encouraged him to come up with such kind of controversial statement or controversial terms that he has used. The government has said that it would also check the call detail records and his bank statement to ascertain who is behind this, because they believe that he is being funded by the opposition forces, so he can give such kind of controversial and what you can call as a reputation tarnishing statement against certain political figure. Meanwhile, on the other hand, taking cognizance of the situation, BMC, that is the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, it has raised the illegal structure outside the Habitat Studio. Habitat Studio is the location in the Khar region of Mumbai where the comedy show was arranged. Now, political turbulence also is being seen not from the government side but also from the political opponent side, where the opposition parties seems to be joining hand together. And also, if you roll, we can see the Mahayuti leaders, the current regime, it has demanded action in both the houses, creating a ruckus over it. FIR already has been registered against Kunal Kamra under the section 353, 50 and 356 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. And in this context, a big statement has come from the state's Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, where he obviously has said that the freedom of expression cannot be allowed to turn into arbitrariness. Mumbai police has arrested also 12 Sainiks over the vandalism of the Unicontinental Hotel, where again the program was organized as such. On the other hand, Uddhav Thackeray, who is the leader of the another Shiv Sena faction, he has said that calling Gaddar a Gaddar is not an attack. This is the term that are used by Kunal Kamra to refer to the Eknath Shinde. Now, Congress also has hit out the government after the Shiv Sainiks took law in their hand. They also have alleged that your sentiments get hurt so easily, obviously referring to the Shiv Sena. You can't take law in your hands. Why are you so scared of comments and criticism? So this is the kind of political turbulence that we are seeing in the state. Now let us try to understand about the broad concept of freedom of speech and expression. Now this is something that is guaranteed to every citizen of India under Article 19, Section 1, Clause A of the Constitution. And the essence of free speech as per this particular article of Constitution boils down to three important facts or three important ingredients. The first is the freedom of speech and expression is required, or basically it basically gives the person a right to think and speak freely. Second, also it helps person obtain information from others through publications and public discourse. And third, both of this can be done without the fear of retribution, restrictions or repression by the government, especially if you are talking about the government, its political leaders or government functionaries as such. So this is largely the scope of the Article 19 of the Indian Constitution. Now there are essential elements that are clearly mentioned under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution. While giving right to the freedom of speech, it clearly states that this freedom of speech is only available to the citizen of India, not to any foreign nationals. Second, right to express one's views and opinion at any issue through any medium. That means the freedom of expression is not only restricted to a certain type of medium. You can use the digital medium, you can use the what you can call as the publication, you can use the books, you can use the newspaper or any kind of medium through which you can transmit one's own ideas, your own belief, your own expression. And third, this right is, however, not absolute, because obviously any right that is granted to any person in a state cannot be absolute in terms, because if it tries to encroach upon the rights of other person, then a state has a right to step in. And that is why the right is not absolute, and it allows the government to frame laws to impose reasonable restrictions so that the freedom of speech and expression can be granted to the citizen, but it also ensures that the right of other person is not trampled upon. Now, before talking about what kind of reasonable restrictions the Constitution has allowed, I want to draw your attention toward a new batch that we are going to launch very soon. It is on the April 17th, 2025. It is going to be a weekday batch where the session will be held every day between Monday to Friday, between 10 to 1 a.m. in the morning and 2 to 5 p.m. in the evening. Extra sessions can be held on the Saturday as well. In this particular course, we will ensure that you have access to the frequent class tests right from the beginning of the session. We'll also ensure that we lay a solid foundation for your preparation by first of all focusing upon the NCRTs, where the basics will be covered, and then further in the other classes, the advanced part of the syllabus will also be covered. Also, while going forward, once you are through with your syllabus, in majority of part, you'll also be given the opportunity to write mains based test, and then discussion around that will be done as well. So there will be a comprehensive coverage right from the prelims, then there will be mains, and also we'll providing you guidance related to the personality test, that is the last step in the UPSC Civil Services examination. And also, since we have a policy of 40 students per batch, if you lose the opportunity to get admitted in the April 17th batch, then another batch is going to be held on the 12th of May, so you can enroll there as well. Now, those of you who are preparing along with the full day or full-time job, for them we have weekend classes where same kind of facilities, same kind of opportunities are provided to the students. Classes will be held every day, on every weekend on the Saturday and Sunday between 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And for those of you who are going to write prelims examination in this year 2025 itself, we have a free all India mock test where you can register at our test platform and you can log in, and then you can appear in the test. Based on that, you can check and analyze your progress. You can then understand your strengths and weaknesses, which area, which subjects is where you have to focus in the last few months of the examination. And if you want to know anything in detail about whether a test or about the admission, you can give a call in this particular number as shown in the this particular image. Now, coming back to the topic, we have discussed that the Constitution of India obviously has provided every citizen of India the right for freedom of expression and freedom of speech, but also it has made a way for the reasonable restrictions that can be imposed by the government by formulating a law to restrict those freedoms. For example, we know that freedom of speech, first of all, we have to understand it is considered as a soul or bedrock of democracy. And there cannot be a democracy if people do not have the freedom to express their opinion, whether it is toward other people or even toward the government. But at the same time, we have to ensure their freedom cannot be absolute, and also the freedom granted to any individual, the liberty granted to any individual has to be balanced with the rights of other individual, other people as well. So whenever freedom of expression threatens the sovereignty and security of the state, then a state can step in and action can be taken against the violator. Second, the moral fabric of nation, if it is destroying or disrupting, then also the state government, the state can step in. For example, if you remember a few weeks back, we have again a controversy related to a controversial statement given by again a well-known podcaster or YouTuber of India. So there also we have so much hullabaloo because it is believed that such kind of statement disrupts the moral fabric of the nation. And last, if also any statement is trying to upset the friendly relations that India enjoys with a foreign state, then also action can be taken. Now, if you talk about this particular situation, there are two clauses that are mentioned here to protect that or to secure that reasonable restrictions can be imposed, and these are public order and defamation. Now, when we talk about public order, it is much more broader than the national security, because when we talk about public order, it refers to the societal tranquility and harmony. So any kind of statement that try to incite the mass, try to incite the mob, and that can result in violence, disruption of the public order, that can create communal conflict, ethnic conflict and all, then obviously the freedom of speech has to be controlled. And on the other hand, also we have to understand the Supreme Court's observation about this particular issue. It has clearly stated that criticism of the government unless inciting violence does not disturb public order. That means if someone is just criticizing government, but there is no direct link that such criticism can cause violence in the state, violence in the region, then that restriction will not be imposed on the individual. The second is defamation, and that is where the current, what you can call as the current issue can come around. So defamation basically, first of all, if you try to understand, is giving such kind of statement which may be false in nature, which is without any kind of evidence, which may harm the reputation of any individual. So in that case, defamation laws protect individual from false statement, and this is the place where the action can be taken against Kunal Kamra, or where the government can justify its action, because the government believes that the statement or the word used by Kunal Kamra is tarnishing the reputation of Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, and the right to free speech here has to balance with protecting the personal dignity. So to protect the personal dignity of the Deputy Chief Minister, that is when, or that is how government can justify the arrest or the action if it takes in the future as such. So defamation is the issue, which is a type of reasonable restriction imposed under the Article 19 Clause 2 of the Constitution, and that is to balance the right of two different individuals or two different parties. Now, before moving forward, we have to understand that freedom of speech, as we have discussed, is the bedrock of democracy, and the reason is because it serves several essential purposes without which life cannot be, or fulfillment of life cannot be ensured. For example, we talk about the self-fulfillment of an individual that cannot be ensured if he or she do not have freedom to express his or her opinion or his belief. Second, it also helps in the seeking of truth, because if only one party has the right to express opinions or give facts, then there cannot be any kind of fact checking, or there cannot be any kind of counter arguments. So arguments and counter arguments are very important part of any healthy discussion, which again is important for the functioning of democracy. That is why truth seeking is also where the freedom of speech helps. Participation in decision making, obviously you cannot make a well informed decision if you are not aware about the comprehensive information about any particular issue or any particular individual. So there also the well functioning of democracy can be ensured here. And last, a social change cannot be brought unless and until people start to question the existing traditions, existing practices. Now, how existing traditions and practices, if they are evil in nature, can be erased, or new practices which are beneficial for the people can be brought in? Again, that can only happen by deliberation and healthy discussion, and for any kind of discussion you need to have a multiple views, the congruence of multiple views, which is ensured by the right under the freedom of speech. Now, over years since the independence, Supreme Court has given a lot of landmark judgments. The most important one, the recent one that we can talk about in this context, came in 2015, when the freedom of right was stifled, specifically related to the online platforms or digital media. And the Supreme Court took cognizance of that matter, and then it came with a landmark verdict referred as Shreya Singhal versus Union of India case, where the section 66A of the Information Technology Act was basically struck down. So it has criminalize the offensive messages on social media platform. That was the main what you can call as the part of the section 66A. Now, the offensive messages, there is no clear-cut definition that what can be offensive. A person can take anything as offensive, or any statement is offensive. So Supreme Court understood it and struck down this provision because it said that it is unconstitutional, as it is vague and overly broad in nature, and there can be multiple interpretation, and vague laws create a chilling effect on free speech. That is what the Supreme Court statement is, deterring individuals from expressing their views due to the fear of legal repercussion. And this judgment of Supreme Court has been hailed as a victory for the online free speech. So when you're talking about this particular issue, you also have to understand that whether the statement or the term that he has used was offensive in nature, and whether that offensive message they're talking about, there can there be any subjective interpretation of that and all. So we have to understand from both perspective, and we know that there is already reasonable restriction placed by the Constitution on the freedom of speech and expression. So this is where we can try to understand topic or the issue, current issue in this particular context. So that is all about this particular news item. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with as friends, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.